Hello everybody and welcome to another top 5 board gaming video. Today's topic is all about games that give you the worst value for your money. This is the second of my 2-part mini-series where I'm talking about value in board games, where first I talked about the best value games and now it's time for the worst. That is to say, games that give you the least amount of fun or excitement or enjoyment or whatever for every unit of currency that you spend on them. There's a lot of different things that go into this, and frankly a lot of the games I'm going to talk about are ones that I really enjoy, but at the same time I'm just like, I feel like I spent too much on that particular experience or on however many experiences I got or whatever it happens to be. So I took a lot of criteria into my thought process with this, from component quality to overall game satisfaction to number of plays to blah 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 blah. But as always, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Are there any specific criteria you look at to say that game is not worth it? Let me know what you think in the comments below, because I love to hear it all, and I'm really curious what your guys' personal thoughts are, because this is something that inevitably is very, very personal. So let me know what you think, and with that, we're gonna get started with my number 5. At number 5, I've got the tough decision of legacy games. I absolutely adore legacy games. I love narrative storytelling, and there are some legacy games that do it very, very well. There's a couple of issues that I have with it though. First and foremost, bad legacy games, i.e. Seafall. Really bad game, just straight up not good. Secondly is you have to find a consistent group. If you don't have a consistent group, then legacy games are some of the worst money that you can possibly spend, because the fact is that it's meant to be a shared narrative experience that you all go through, kind of like a tabletop RPG campaign, and at the end you're just like, wow, that was awesome, we went through that whole thing and we did it and it was fun. And so it just feels like you're not getting the same experience if you have to either constantly change or you're spending a lot of time between sessions or whatever it happens to be. It can be a really tough thing to get through. But either way, legacy games overall, my number 5. At number 4, I've got some of these miniature puzzle solving games like the Exit series and the Unlock series. Now, if you guys have seen my videos before, you know I love logic games and puzzle solving games and all of this kind of stuff, and these series are great at doing that. The problem is you're paying 20, 30, 25, 15 bucks for a single experience, and it might last an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is, and in the end, it just depends on how much value you put on your time and the components that you're getting. The fact is, with most of these, you're going to end up destroying a lot of the components, so you will never be able to play them again. Not to mention the fact that even if you try, a lot of the puzzles, once you figure them out, are super easy to remember because they have some unusual little quirk that you have to deal with. Again, they are great games and I really love them, but as far as just sheer value for the money, it's just play it once and basically throw it out for $25 or $30, not worth it in my book. Exit and Unlock and these types of games, my number 4. At number 3, I've got Munchkin, which has become the bane of my very existence. When I first started seriously collecting board games, one of the first things that I did was buy a whole bunch of Munchkin, because at the time I really loved it. The problem is I didn't realize how bad Munchkin is as a game. And so the problem is you see games like this where you got Munchkin and Smash Up and all of these sorts of things where it gets really boring and super repetitive as you play through, and so you're forced to buy more and more and more to try and keep it at least somewhat fresh. So I have spent way more than I care to admit on Munchkin cards, and I hate myself for it. It is definitely not worth it. It's not a game that I ever really take out. I honestly don't remember the last time I played it. Nobody in my game group likes to play it. It's too much of a hassle to even try. I just don't bother with it. Munchkin, my number 3. At number 2, I've got one of the big daddies, Twilight Imperium 4. Now, this is a wonderful game. I absolutely love this game. But I can count on one hand the number of times that I have played it, and that very much frustrates me. It is an expensive purchase. It is an expensive investment to go into a board game collection, and the fact is that I am not able to play it nearly as much as I would really like to, and I do not like that fact. The other big issue that I have is that there's several other people in my board game group who also own a copy, so nobody is really getting their true value out of this massive monstrosity of the game that really is truly fun and is pretty much as close to a 4X style game that you're going to get in a board game versus on a PC. But it's good. It's a great game, and I'm sad that I have it and it sits on the shelf and I can never, ever, ever play it. And so I find that I'm personally not getting the value out of it, and it just hurts me every single time I see it. Twilight Imperium 4, my number 2. At number 1, I have not a single game, but a generalized category, and as an example, I have Rising Sun. I picked Rising Sun because it is a game that I truly do love, but miniatures are not worth it. In my opinion, it simply doesn't happen, and it automatically makes any game's expense go up by 50 to 100% easily. And it's so frustrating because I'm one of those people where I like to see the miniatures. I think they look cool. They don't particularly immerse me in the game though. I'm fine with a little wooden disc or a little wooden cube to represent particular characters. But that said, I know a lot of people who will take miniatures from games like this, they paint them, they display them, they do all of that kind of stuff. Great, that's awesome. You do you guys, but for me personally, it is not worth it to get these games that have all of these miniatures because it drives the price up so much, and I just want the gameplay. I don't particularly care about the miniatures. It's something I've complained about quite often though. You guys know my story about it, and that's why it is by far my number 1. Well everybody, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video on my top 5 games that give you the least value for your money. Obviously, again, this is a very personal thing, and for me, I love most of these games. I still love playing them when I'm able to, but I simply feel like I am not getting the value of the money investment that I put into them. That's me personally. There's a lot of people I know who would put things like out-of-print games on a list like this because like out-of-print games are super expensive, but the way I see it is that you're paying for the fact that you can't get the game anymore, so you have to pay that price, and it's going to be a game that you really want, that you really need to have. For me as a collector, I'm trying to get all of the Cosmic Encounters. I'm trying to get the original Dune. I've talked about my Grail games before a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. As always, I want to hear what you guys have to say, especially about something that is so personal. What is it for you that makes it feel like you don't get your money's worth out of a game? Is it the fact that you can't play it as often as you want? Is it that you got bad components, or that you got components that you felt were beneath the level that you should have gotten? Anything along those lines. I don't know. What is it for you? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear some discussion on this, as I love to hear it about anything and everything. But that said, as always, please, if you haven't done so already, take a look at my various social media pages where you can interact with myself and my channel in a bunch of fun ways. If you all are still stuck in quarantine, first off, I apologize because it's not fun. I'm stuck in quarantine still too, but please stay safe, stay inside. Hopefully we will be able to get through all of this with our fingers crossed, and hopefully we won't have to deal with it through the entirety of the holiday season coming up here. But with that said, thank you very, very much for watching. Hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.